Hey, what's up, Ober Sports? Jacob Ober here. In this video, I'm going to be talking all about what the Green Bay Packers need to do this offseason to ensure that they win the Super Bowl next season. Obviously, this season for the Green Bay Packers was a bit of a disappointing one as they lost Aaron Rodgers to injury and they ended up finishing off the season 7-9 and missing the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. The good news for the Packers, though, is that they still have time. They still have time to win Super Bowls with Aaron Rodgers under center. Aaron Rodgers might be 34, but he has said many times that he wants to play until he's 40, and that gives the Packers an opportunity to correct the wrongs that have plagued them the past few seasons ever since they won the Super Bowl back in 2010. This season was quite possibly a necessary season for the Green Bay Packers, a season in which the Packers were able to hopefully able to take a step back and realize, okay, we need to start fixing things, and so far they've done that. They've been firing coaches. They've practically cleaned house. They fired their offensive and defensive coordinators. They fired many offensive coaches and defensive coaches, and they vacated the general manager role that Ted Thompson once had. So this is already beginning to be an offseason of changes for the Packers. I think the number one priority for the Packers, though, right now is filling that vacant general manager position. And in my opinion, the best candidate for the job is Elliott Wolf. He's a very highly coveted general manager candidate across the league. He's been sought after by the Lions and the 49ers in recent years. He has a very, very good eye for talent, and he's the son of Ron Wolf, who helped engineer that Green Bay Packers rebuild in the early 1990s when he traded for Brett Favre, which is still to this day one of the best trades ever made in NFL history. And to me, Elliott Wolf, who has also been with this organization for 15 years, is a guy you just have to give the general manager role. He's just too talented. He's too coveted. It would be a very big mistake if the Packers didn't fill that vacant general manager role with Elliott Wolf. After the general manager position is filled, I think the Packers' number one priority after that is to fill the vacant defensive and offensive coordinator roles, which is delegated to Mike McCarthy, so he will be going out and searching for people to fill that role. And I think that he's leaning towards signing some in-house names, and I don't necessarily agree with that because, in my opinion, the Packers need to move on from what they had and get some fresh faces, and they don't need to be hiring in-house people. I think the Packers should go after Vic Fangio for the defensive coordinator position, and I'd love to have Ben McAdoo back as the Packers offensive coordinator. He was the quarterback's coach for a long time in Green Bay, and it'd be great to have him back. Once the coaching positions are filled, I think the Packers' next focus has to be to go sign some free agents. And I don't mean this in the sense that the Packers should go crazy with signing free agents, because we've seen how it works out in the past for franchises like the Redskins, who just completely fall apart, and it ends up not being worth it. But the Packers need to sign some more free agents than they have been. They need to go out and make some splashes. And the number one position the Packers need is secondary, really. The Packers should go out and try to get Vontae Davis or Trumaine Johnson or Jonathan Joseph or Prince Amukamara. They need to go out and get people like this that provide veteran leadership. And the thing with Thompson for me is that I felt like he didn't go for the prize. And there were times when he did, like when he signed Charles Woodson, but he always settled for just something a little bit less than the prize. And last season we saw it with Martellus Bennett, we saw it with Jared Cook, even though I like Jared Cook. He made a splash, but he didn't make that big of a splash to the point where I think it could impact the Packers in a significant enough way. And in my opinion, I think the Packers need to go out and get a guy who can instantly come in and be an impact player and a leader on this team, a person who can make a Pro Bowl or trade for one or something. The Packers need that presence on this team, and their defense is not going to get better until they have that presence on this team. Another focus area in free agency is going to be the tight end position, and the Packers, with the exception of Jared Cook, have really not had that great of a tight end since Jermichael Finley, and the Packers really need to go find one, because and I'm not saying that it would hinder the Packers' success if they don't, but to have a tight end who could an elite tight end just makes all the more difference on your football team, especially if you rely on the passing game. So names that are out there: Jimmy Graham, Tyler Eifert. I mean, I'd love to have Jimmy Graham on the team. I think the Packers should absolutely go for him. That'd be a fantastic pickup for the Packers. I don't think he's going to be as expensive as he was last time around for the Seahawks. So really, the Packers need to go and get a tight end, a guy who is a red zone threat. It'd be perfect addition to the offense and something the Packers have been lacking ever since they won a Super Bowl. After free agency, the next priority for the Green Bay Packers is going to be the draft. And I think the Packers' main focus in the draft needs to be drafting pass rushers, because the pass rush for the Packers this past season was horrible. And it was a big reason why the secondary was so bad, because the quarterback would get so much time to throw, and you can only cover guys for so long. So the Packers really need to find a legitimate pass rusher in the draft, a guy who could actually make an impact. And honestly, I don't follow college football that much, other than the Wisconsin Badgers, so I'm not too big on names for pass rushers. But I know the Packers have a higher pick than they have had in recent years, and they need to use that pick to draft a guy who they think is quality enough to make an impact. And this isn't another draft and develop thing the Packers do. The Packers need to sign an impact player or draft an impact player. They can't keep doing this draft and develop. It's a great philosophy for a rebuilding franchise, but the Packers aren't rebuilding anymore. And that's the thing. The Packers have been doing this draft and develop thing for so long, and it's not meant for teams like the Packers who are having success. It's meant for teams who are rebuilding, and the Packers are not rebuilding. They are on the cusp of a Super Bowl every single year, and it's this strategy that has failed us so many times in the past, and it's something I hope the Packers scrap altogether when their new general manager comes in. And that's a big reason why I hope that they go with Elliott Wolf, because I think Elliott Wolf understands what this team needs, and that's to get rid of this draft and develop philosophy. And when the Packers first implemented it, it made sense because the Packers were in a transitional period, and it led to their Super Bowl victory. A lot of players on that team were draft and develop guys, but now the Packers are a perennial contender, and they cannot afford to waste any more of Rodgers' prime waiting for guys to develop. They can't do that anymore. They have to they have to draft and sign guys who they know can make an impact, and I think that's what the Packers are going to do this offseason. The final point I'm going to make in this video ties into everything that I've said so far already in this video, and that's that in order to win the Super Bowl, the Packers need to ditch the idea that Aaron Rodgers is going to always be there to save them. And really, the one thing that's held them back more than anything else is that the idea of Aaron Rodgers always being there to save them. He's not going to be there to save them for much longer. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to enter a period of decline over the next few years. As sad as it is to hear that, he's still going to be an elite talent, elite quarterback, a guy who can make all the plays, all the throws you need for a quarterback to make. But he's not going to be the guy who can take a 4-16 to the NFC Championship anymore. He's not going to be that. And even during that period, I think the one thing that was holding the Packers back for so long is that the front office and the coaching staff, I feel like they all just thought that Aaron Rodgers, as long as Aaron Rodgers was there, they were going to have a chance to go to the Super Bowl, and they didn't need a team around him. I feel like the Packers just threw makeshift teams around him. They put rookies in, they put undeveloped players in, and they just hope for the best because they have Aaron Rodgers, right? Well, that's not how it works. As great as your quarterback can be, and really Aaron Rodgers is, if there was any quarterback who could succeed in this philosophy, it'd be Aaron Rodgers. But it didn't work, and if it didn't work then, it's absolutely not going to work over the next few years, because Aaron Rodgers, as expected, is going to start declining. And the Packers need to surround him with a team that he can work with, that the Packers can actually win games with, and after every win we don't have to say it was because of Aaron Rodgers. I want to have some more games where I can say that the Packers won because of their defense or their running game or their ability to create turnovers or their pass rush. I want more games like that. I don't want more games where I have to say that Aaron Rodgers bailed the Packers out again. And that, in my opinion, is the biggest thing that has held the Packers back so far. They can't keep relying on Aaron Rodgers to fix all of their problems. And the longer they think they can do that, the older Aaron Rodgers is going to get, the more Aaron Rodgers is going to decline, and the less of a chance the Packers are going to have to win the Super Bowl. Anyways, that's my opinion. I think that's what the Packers need to do to win the Super Bowl next year. If you have a differing opinion, I'd love to hear it, but I mean, the longer the Packers continue to ride the shoulders of Aaron Rodgers, the worse it's going to be for them. So I really think that this is what they need to do in order to have success next year. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you next time.